Welcome to the Gracewriters podcast, Christian writers changing popular culture. Hit subscribe on your favourite podcast player so you never miss an episode. And find show notes, useful links and a full transcript at gracewriters.com. Welcome to today's podcast with our special guest, Laura Thomas. I'm Belinda Pollard. I'm an author, editor and writing coach with a theology degree and 20 years in the publishing industry. Find links to my blogs, books and online courses at belindapollard.com.
Hi, I'm Alison Young. I'm a former early childhood educator. I live in southeast Queensland and I have 4 adult children and I write romance under the pen name Alison Joy. You can find all my information on alisonjoywriter.com.
Hi, I'm Donita Bundy, and for the past 20 years, I've been using my theology degree to underpin my preaching and public speaking, and more recently to inspire my young adult urban fantasy series, Armour of Light. You can find out all about me at donitabundy.com.
Welcome to you, Laura. Just a little bit of an introduction. Laura describes her writing as heartwarming encouragement for your soul and has published books across a number of genres, including romantic, suspense and teen fiction. She has a middle grade children's short novel, a non-fiction marriage book, and also writes devotion, short stories and various articles. Laura enjoys speaking about her faith, her writing journey and encouraging others by her blog and in writing workshops. Originally from the UK, Laura is married to her childhood sweetheart and has 3 young adult children. And as a late bloomer in terms of a writing career, she joins us today from her home in British Columbia in Canada.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute joy to be with you.
Laura, as a way for us to get to know you a little bit better, we're wondering if you would be willing to undergo the rapid fire 5 questions for us just to get to know your writing style a little bit better.
Absolutely. Fire away.
All right. Who is your target audience?
Okay, so as I am multi-genre, I'm just going to break this very quickly into 2. I would say Christian women for my nonfiction, and for my fiction, Christian women and children and teens, plus anybody who's open to a clean read / story of faith.
Awesome, thank you.
Sorry, that wasn't very rapid fire, but that's
no. That's enough. Fast enough. You had a lot of ground to cover there. So what would you say is your main genre? We've been hearing that you cover a fair bit, but in your heart, what would be your main genre?
That's kind of like asking me to pick one of my children.
Yes.
But I probably would go with my most current that I've had published. So that would be Christian romantic suspense, and the last 3 books have been in that genre.
Awesome. When is your optimum time for writing?
Somewhat weirdly, it's the afternoon. I would love to be able to say I'm like burn the midnight oil or get up first thing at 5 a.m. every morning, but truly I have to do all the things and get myself in a really good place so that I can actually just, especially for creative writing, just write without any other distractions. So yeah, afternoons are actually my best.
Cool. And where is your favorite place to write?
It's actually right here from where I'm speaking to you. It's my home office. It used to be my place where I used to homeschool my kids many years ago. And then I was delighted to turn it into my writing room. So this is where I am. I've got all my books. Yeah, I've got everything to hand. It's quiet. And so this is where the work gets done.
And also, how did you get into writing in the first place?
Okay, this is not a good question for your rapid fire. Yeah, very long story short. I always had a dream of being an author from when I was a little bookworm child. And I kept my dream a secret for 25 years. And finally, my husband unearthed it and encouraged me to make it happen. So it literally was a very long time brewing, but it was, I'm basically thanking my husband for it because he encouraged me, and the rest is history.
I don't want to go away from that question just yet. Can you tell us just a little bit more about your husband's involvement in the process? Because some people have a spouse who's not helpful or even obstructive. Can you just hear a little bit more about how that works?
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. He's still my greatest cheerleader. I can't say enough about it. I'm very grateful, and I don't take it for granted because I know that's not always the case. But as I said, for me, I literally wanted to be Beatrix Potter when I was a small child and wanted to be an author. And then I don't know, I guess by the time I hit like my early teens, I got really distracted with school and boys and all the other things. And honestly, I buried that dream. I never told a single solitary soul, not my parents, not the teacher, not friends. I didn't think it would ever happen, quite honestly. It was one of those real grandiose kind of dreams. So I buried it. I met my husband. I started dating him when I was 14. So we've been together forever. And I didn't even tell him all those years. And we emigrated from England to Canada, and we had kids, and I homeschooled. And then we literally were out on a coffee date, and we were having one of those deep and meaningful conversations. And he was asking me, what's your dream? And so I was, we've done all the dreams. We emigrated, we did all this. And he said, no, you've got to have a dream still. What would it be? And so I said, well, there's my dream of writing a book one day. And he kind of said, what is this? Like, I've known you forever. And why is this the first time hearing of it? So I said, I buried it. I thought maybe when we retire one day, I might get round to it. And he dug into that. He wasn't going to let me go with that one at all. So he said, are you serious? Because if this is something that's really on your heart, you could need to make this happen. And so, again, very long story short, I was homeschooling my 3 kids. I was a worship director at our church, really busy. And he said, if you want to do something badly enough, you'll make the time to do it. So literally over my caramel macchiato in Starbucks, the decision was made. And I started I had no clue. Like, I literally left school at 16 and went into banking. I was really starting fresh in my, I guess I would have been my mid to late 30s. So I just started with a writing course that I got accepted into in the States, a correspondence course. And that was the beginning. And it was just like writing in the little cracks of time between school and my kids. My husband always behind me going, you can do this, you can do this. And then starting to submit stories and being rejected and just keeping on. So yeah, he's been great. And honestly, we would clearly have starved to death by now if we had relied on my income. So, I mean, physically, he's been great too.
That's wonderful. I love that story.
Yeah, I really like hearing other authors talk about their writing journey. It's so good because everybody's so different. One of the pieces of advice I've heard often is to find your lane and stick to it. But you've dabbled in a few different areas. So is it more about following the prompting of God than staying in one lane, or how have you negotiated several different lanes?
That's such a good question. I love to think that it was definitely God prompting me and not the fact that I couldn't decide.
Multi-passionate.
That's what it is. And I'm definitely multi-passionate. As I said, I literally wanted to be a picture book writer. That still to this day is my dream. I literally still have manuscripts that are doing the rounds, and that is still my dream. But yeah, I guess my first things published were children's stories in magazines, because that was the route I presumed I would go. And then I had a story from a short story. I kind of made that into a manuscript for Christian teen girls for my fiction novel, and that got published. And it's kind of snowballed from teen fiction into middle grade, into romance, and all these different things. Plus, all the while, I've been writing devotions for children, women, short stories, magazine articles. And honestly, I really just think God's just been opening up the doors, and I've been like, sure. Don't know if I can do this, but sure. And so it really has just been a matter of taking a bit of a deep breath and going, I mean, a huge imposter syndrome, as all of us have, right?
Oh, yes,
like, when do we not? But I mean, imposter syndrome in all the genres. Like, who am I to think I can?
It's on my business card. Belinda Pollard, publishing consultant, editor, writer, imposter. Yeah.
Totally. I totally hear you. But honestly, it has to be God, because I think I would have given up a very long time ago otherwise. And I just have to trust that he's got an audience for me in all these different genres, and I enjoy them all, which, I mean, if I didn't like doing it, I wouldn't do it. So like I said at the beginning, it's kind of like asking to pick my favorite child when people ask me to pick my favorite genre, because it's just such a privilege and a joy to be able to write for many different audiences.
I love the way that you have built all of this. You've worked on all these different types of writing. You've been published in all these different environments, and yet you finished school at 16, you said. But you have not left it there. It's not that you magically, I'm guessing God magically gave you the ability to write well and grammatically and all the rest of it. You worked on it, I'm guessing.
And still, isn't that, I've always said, like, the day I turn around and say, I have learned all the things as a writer, is the day I should definitely put my pen down. I mean, it's just constant learning. And I think I'm still very, very aware of the fact that I need to be taking, not obsessively taking courses, but definitely have my radar, so that, I mean, even a couple of weeks ago, I had an all-day picture book seminar that I went to, just because I'm like, that's still my genre that I want to write in, and I want to learn all the things. And so it's been a very much a slow and steady process, and I'm definitely still learning. I think with every book that I've had published, I mean, a little cringy at the first things that I wrote now, looking back, but, never throw anything out. Writing friends who are listening, never throw anything out, because then you're able to look back and see how much you've grown. So there is that too.
And even go back and rework it if you wish.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I think there would be something wrong if we weren't improving along the way. But yeah, definitely I'm just a work in process, and I just keep going, keep learning.
It's so encouraging. I worked with an author a couple of years ago who he doesn't even have a computer. He writes on his phone and has significant difficulties from having had a head injury. And this is not what you're like, but others can help him then get the writing technicalities sorted out. But the message of what he writes is great.
Yeah.
Beautiful stories and quite deep stuff. So I'm just so encouraged to hear what you've created, and because it's encouraging to our other listeners out there, because there are other people out there also who finish school young. One of my mother is one of my greatest supporters, and she finished school young, but she is actually one of my proofreaders now, and she's really,
awesome.
Really good at it.
Yeah, that's awesome. People ask me a lot, do you wish you'd, gone to university and done your creative writing degree and got all the qualifications and stuff? But I'm like, you know what? I've got many, many years of experience. And that is what I draw from. I think if I'd gone into writing as a fresh-faced 22-year-old or whatever, I think it would have been awful. Frankly, I don't think I would have had anything much to say. I feel like nothing is ever wasted with God. I'm a firm believer on that. And just life experience and just raising kids. I mean, just watching a child grow, you've got enough fodder there for many, many novels. So yeah, I don't believe anything is ever wasted. And so yeah, I don't think it's ever too late to start writing and start following that writing dream.
Can I just say, I was an early childhood teacher, so picture book thing is one of my one of my dreams as well. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
You're traditionally published, Laura. So can you walk us through the process of finding a publisher for your work? Like, do you have an agent, or how did you come about?
I think, again, everybody has their own weird and wonderful sort of journey into this. Let me think. Originally, my first book, I didn't have an agent. And so that was with my Christian teen fiction that I told you about, Tears to Dancing. I literally just went to our friend Google and Googled all the Christian publishers, and just started sending it out to them, basically, all the ones that were open to writers that didn't have agents, and just got a lot of rejections until I got an acceptance. And
Yay.
in that time, I mean, I wrote that, I sent it off, and I just like moved that to one side and carried on with my next thing. So I certainly wasn't sitting at home twiddling my thumbs waiting for a reply, but that's how that ball started rolling. So that's a small publisher in the States, and then they wanted that one. I did my one book and I'm like, excellent, I'm done. Like, ooh, I'm an author, but it was like, could you do another one, like a follow-up, and then make it a trilogy? And then I had an idea for a middle grade, and then the nonfiction marriage book because my daughter was getting married. So that was all with that one publisher. So at that point, I hadn't even done anything with agents or anything. And then with my Christian teen fiction, that's been a whole other thing. That was actually, again, just to encourage. I know I love to be able to try and encourage writers, because sometimes it's a long time where you're just sending things out and you don't hear back, and it can be awfully discouraging. But for my Christian romantic suspense, The Glass Bottom Boat, it actually was 6 years from when I first sent it in to actually, it was like a Harlequin pitch kind of a thing for their Christian romance line. From that point, I went through the gamut of being rejected, and then they wanted to see it, then they rejected it, and then lots more rejections. And then I got an agent through a conference and thought, yay, here we go. And then he had it for close on 2 years and didn't have any joy with it. And so then he terminated our agreement. And so I was like, is this the end? Is this, especially as a Christian, you're like, Lord, do you not want this to go out? Because, you just tell me. But yes. I kind of dusted myself off. And within a week, I did what's called, I don't know if you're familiar with the Twitter pitches, that I think they're like worldwide, right? The faith pitch. I did that. And I got a 3-book deal with another traditional small publisher in the States. So again, without an agent. So yeah, I then I did another Twitter pitch with my children's books and got an agent through the Twitter pitch. Sorry, this is really confusing and rambly, but all this to say, you can do it with and without an agent. I'm in a point now, my last agent has just finished. So I would love to have an agent now to just take this off my hands, my picture book and my next romantic suspense that I've written, and just say, here, let me have this and I'll sort everything out for you. Because I feel like that would be lovely. But it's not always the way. So all that to say, an agent is awesome. And I would thoroughly recommend trying to get one through conferences, just through submitting online. Online conferences have been the thing, obviously, of late, given the current climate. So agents are amazing if you can get one, but if you can't get one, like, it's definitely doable to approach those smaller publishers just by yourself, and just if you've got a manuscript and it fits with what they're looking for, they're going to take you.
I'm really interested in that that thought and feeling. Is the rejection a sign? Is the rejection of my manuscript a sign from the Lord, or is it a resistance that I need to push through? I'm interested in, like, Donita and Alison, do you have thoughts about that as well? Because I just find that's a big question, isn't it? And a big issue.
Yeah, it's always a huge thing when you come across that, because you don't know. If it's part of the journey and you've got to grow as a person and grow in your relationship with God through the resistance, or is it just like, okay, slam the door shut? You don't know. So yeah.
And I think probably one of the hardest things would be that you've been accepted by an agent, and at that point, that's when the celebration happens. But then to have the agent say, well, yeah, it's been nice, but no thanks, just crushing. And I can see at that point you would be thinking, what is the point of all this? Why was that door opened? But as you said at the beginning, like no experience is wasted. So somewhere along the line, there were lessons possibly to learn. And a lot of the time, I think it's difficult to discern. Is it a shut door one way and an open door somewhere else? Or is it God saying, actually, no, I'm not with you on this? But the only way we can really discern that difference is by taking time out and really sitting and listening to God and just coming before him. And I think the hard thing is coming with an open hand and just saying, if this is not where my manuscript is going, if this is not something that you're endorsing, well, then being prepared to let go and walk away. So that would be the tricky thing, but I think that's what we need to do, just to come with an open hand and be prepared to listen. And that's the only way I think we can discern the difference. But definitely we're up against it. Like, when you're writing and you've got grace notes and we're wanting to change popular culture and we want to make a difference and we want to stir the pot, we are going to come against confrontation. So, attacks. So discerning that difference is tricky, but again, learning process, part of the journey and deepening our faith and growing as a Christian, I think.
Laura, you've been teaching writers as well, teaching writing workshops. What types of things are you teaching, and how are you targeting that? Who is it for?
I've done it for Christian audience and secular, like just for writers, basically. And honestly, I mean, hopefully it's come through today as well. I just really want to encourage other writers who are just like in the trenches and who are maybe feeling, just like the weight of it all. My main thing that I usually speak on it's called Dare to Dream. And I actually just kind of talk about my own personal, how my own personal journey kind of like in more detail, just how that all happened and everything. And then just getting people to maybe nail down what their actual dream is, to work on defining the heart of their writing, focusing it through the lens of their personal taglines, and getting daily fresh ideas and inspiration, directing everything through their ideal reader, really nuts and bolts stuff, as well as kind of the overarching writing dream, kind of how to make it happen, coming away with a few tangible things. My busy thing at the moment is I'm actually getting my coaching certification with Hope Writers. So that is taking up a lot of my time right now. I'm loving it. Very different from teaching, coaching. I'm learning this, very different. But like, again, such a joy to be able to like just be on the journey with people and guide them, and just really just try and be as much of an encouragement as I can, because people have been there for me along the way, right? And it's so lovely to be able to give back to that a little bit.
Laura, our slogan at Gracewriters is writers changing popular culture. How does this challenge you?
I love that. I think as a fiction writer, if I can weave faith and hope into relevant, relatable stories that encourage not only Christians, but also those who are even open to reading something that maybe has hope. I mean, I think that's, if there's anything everybody in the world can agree on, it's like we need hope. So these stories of hope, even if they're not like in your face Christian stories, just pointing them in the right direction, I think that's huge. I think there's always going to be a place as well for clean reads. I'm surprised at the number of people who will pick up my books, not necessarily because they want Christian fiction, but because they want something that's not going to make them cringe, or that they can give to their mother or their grandmother, or so I think there's a place for that as well. I don't know. I feel like sometimes God has given me like this little page in his massive, great big storybook. And it's up to me whether I fill that page with some idle doodlings, or whether I actually make my words count. And so at the end of the day, I really want my words to matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just wondering, like, you've been on this journey for so long, and you've been telling us how you've had the knockbacks and the rejections, and how it was really hard to actually just come out of the closet in the first place, to admit to wanting to be a writer. I was just wondering, how has your faith changed or grown and developed throughout the years that you've been pursuing the dream of being a writer?
I've got to be honest, I don't know whether I could have actually done this without my faith. It's hard, right? It's hard. The rejections and the floundering, and I've loved the fact that I've always been able to pray about everything. Like, I can pray over every article that goes out, every manuscript, just pray that God will give me the readers, whether it's 10 or 10,000, like that he would provide those readers. It has grown my faith, because, as you said, there have been times where it's just been like, am I doing the right thing? What am I doing? Am I wasting my time? I want my life to make a difference. Am I sitting here at my keyboard? Is this the best use of my time? But he never fails to just give me that little bit of encouragement. And you know what? It might just be a little email from some random person who gets my newsletter. And it might just be a little couple of sentences, but it's just enough to keep me going for another month almost, It's just or just like, a favorable reply amidst all the other rejections. I think he sees us, he loves us, right, as his children, and he knows what we need to keep us going. And so, yeah, my faith has been stretched for sure. And I've definitely grown. I love as well, I really enjoy writing devotions and being a part of that. And I mean, doing that, even if I didn't do any of my other stuff, I know that, just being able to dig into the word, it's given me, just given me definitely a new fire in my belly to be able to share his word. So yeah, on so many levels, I've definitely grown, and hopefully will continue to grow.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah, wonderful stuff, Laura. Can you please tell the listeners where they can find you online?
Absolutely, yes. I'm at laurathomasauthor.com. And everything is there. So all my social media is there. All my books are there as well. All the links to my books, my blog, writers coaching, everything. So come join me, join my newsletter. I have a monthly newsletter, and I do a book giveaway every month with some yummy, delicious baking recipes, as well as some soul encouragement and book recommendations. So, or just come say hi. Like, honestly, I promise, if anybody writes to me on my contact page, I will reply. So I would love to, especially right from the other side of the world. That would be so special. So yeah, come say hi at laurathomasauthor.com. I would love that.
How about I pray for you as we finish up?
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for Laura, and we thank you for the vision and the possibilities that you have given her. We thank you for that wonderful partner that she has, who is her partner in life and also her partner in her writing and publishing adventures. And we thank you that you have been there, you have been deciding, you've had a plan in it all along, even at the times when Laura didn't know what that plan was. And you have a plan going forth into the future too. We entrust her to you. We pray that you will strengthen her, encourage her, and sustain her. And we pray for all the grace writers out there who are trying to find their path, that you will give them encouragement and peace and strength in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Laura Thomas, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Thank you, Alison Joy and Donita Bundy. I'm Belinda Pollard, and we will see you next time on the Gracewriters podcast. Gracewriters is run by volunteers, and we're incredibly grateful to those who have contributed financially to help keep this ministry running. Thank you so very much. If you have enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to help, please go to gracewriters.com and look for Donate in the menu. Continue today's conversation in our free online forum and find useful articles, links and resources at gracewriters.com.